Hello, Facebook world. Vanessa McGovern here with Gifted Travel Network for another episode of our new and exciting web show called Travel Talk Live. Welcome to another episode of our show, Travel Talk Live. It's really an awesome time in the office here at Gifted Travel Network because we get to talk to some really amazing, exciting people in our industry that share, as we like to say, travel inspiration, and as Meredith affectionately actually says, travel candy, to get you all inspired and to expand what's possible for your travel experiences. And today there's going to be no shortage of inspiration and no shortage of amazing, perfectly described travel experiences through our very strong partner, Princess Cruises and Cunard, and today we'll be specifically talking about Princess Cruises. And on behalf of Princess Cruises, I want to actually welcome our guest, and that is the Vice President of North American Sales for Princess, and that is John Chernesky. Hi, John. Welcome to Travel Talk Live.
Hi, everyone. It's great to be here. That was quite an introduction. I've got a lot to live up to. I'm not often inspiring or exciting or amazing, but I'll do my very best.
Well, those are words that I use often, so you were able to re-articulate that well. How are we doing with the tech? We're good?
Turn his volume up.
We're going to turn your volume up. Okay, one moment while all right, we're all the way up. Sounds good with John on John's end? All right. So thanks for that. For those of you that are just joining for Travel Talk Live, this is our weekly web show hosted at noon on Tuesdays. And again, this is actually a show designed for the traveling public and welcome for any of our travel partners and travel professionals that are within our Gifted Travel Network. You'll definitely be learning a lot, but just as a friendly reminder, this is a web show designed for the traveling public and for the consumer. It's not a travel agent specific focused presentation. If you're in Gifted Travel Network, you can get access to those more specific focused presentations within our weekly Shop Talk series. But Travel Talk Live is specifically designed for the consumer, so you can use it for yourself, use it for your network, your clients and prospects, your family and friends that you know would be a perfect fit for this particular cruise experience. And Princess Cruises absolutely delivers, and really excited to dig in and learn about Princess. So just want to give it a moment here to make sure we are good with tech. So we're good. All right, in that department. So as you know, with Facebook Live, it's a new technology and one never knows. So we always want to make sure. So John, let's just dive in and get started. Let's just start with a nice, big, broad, 30,000 foot level question of who is Princess Cruises? Because there are definitely viewers right now that this is their first time hearing about Princess. Or maybe, of course, they've heard about Princess, but they're not really sure who you are as a brand.
Okay, yeah, it's Princess Cruises has been around for 51 years. We celebrated our 50th anniversary last year, which is pretty cool.
That's amazing.
A lot of people remember Princess because we were featured on the Love Boat back in the day.
Yes.
And it's been a part of our history. It's been a part of cruising's history, and it really helped put modern cruising on the map and made it more approachable to everyone. And that's we take great pride in being part of that. But certainly, even though we've been in business for that long, we have not rested on our laurels. We have been growing. I've been with the company for 24 years. Started working there when I was 6 years old. And
congratulations.
It's been growing and changed quite a bit over my tenure in the company. And we now have 17 ships that sail the world. We are actually delivering another ship next year, so we'll have 18 ships in our fleet, which is quite impressive.
That's very impressive.
We're the largest premium brand, so we fall into the premium segment of the industry. And we take great pride in our destinations. That's really what I think distinguishes, or one of the things that distinguishes Princess, is that we don't just put our ships in the Caribbean or in Mexico or in one other destination. We literally travel the world. And so when we see this with our guests, when they come to us, they tend to stay with us because we have a great loyalty program, and they realize they don't need to go anywhere to anybody else because they can travel with us and pretty much see anywhere they want to go.
Wow. 18 ships across so many different continents. I know that Princess covers a lot of ground. And I definitely want to get to some destination specific questions in a moment. I do want to touch on something you said just there to elaborate. But before I do want to mention a housekeeping item. So for those of you joining us for Travel Talk Live, this show is all about giving you travel inspiration to expand your bucket list. And we want to be of highest service to you. And so we've got John here on a live show And as much as I can come up with questions for probably an hour's worth of questions, because I know a lot about cruising, I know what to ask John, this is really about you. So we really value your questions. So if you have a question, please do not hesitate. Don't be shy. Put it in the comment box. I'll be checking it throughout this presentation with John and throughout our conversation. So if you have a question for John, even if it's something that we're not talking about, please feel free to post it in the comments of this particular thread of the live post so that we can ask John directly. We would love your questions. So one of the questions.
Just keep it clean. Keep it clean, people. Come on.
Keep it clean. Keep it clean. I can't imagine that you wouldn't get any amazing clean questions, but I know how some Facebook people can be. But that's for another live. So one of the questions I want to ask you, you said that Princess falls within the premium category of cruising. Can you elaborate on that? Could you share with our viewers what do you mean when you say premium, and perhaps could you describe like other travel brands that fall under premium that's not cruising so that they can kind of compare?
Sure. And so there's really three, if you think about cruising, there's really three main segments within the industry. There's what we call contemporary,
okay,
and then you have premium, and then you have luxury. And it's really based on price point, which is driven by the amenities that are offered, the size of the ships in some cases, the standard of the service, and the amenities that are offered on board. And so Princess, if you think from a shoreside standpoint, maybe we're looking at like a Westin Hotels property.
Westin, okay.
Yeah, so think of it like that. Mercedes-Benz, BMW, that kind of a category within the automotive world. It's not a Range Rover, a Bentley, but it's still very nice. Has all the bells and whistles, but it's affordable because with 17 or now soon to be 18 ships, our goal is to appeal to a very large number of people. We're not just carrying a few hundred people a year; we're carrying about 1.5 million people every year.
Wow!
And so,
wow!
If we price it in the luxury segment, we would have a very hard time filling our ships. And so, we really fall in that premium segment, which is a sweet spot for us in terms of the quality of the service we deliver, what people are able to pay and willing to pay, and obviously we'd love to be able to charge more money each year, and we have, as an industry, seen some strength overall in terms of our pricing, but I think that hopefully that explains kind of where we sit within that premium segment. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely it does. I love the comparison with Westin. I think that definitely helps to understand what kind of guests would experience Princess, or just kind of giving a cross analysis of that. So thank you. Let's talk, while we're talking about destinations, I do want to talk a little bit about how Princess works with travel agents, but let's save that to the end. So, and for those of you that are watching Travel Talk Live, if you have any questions for John, as I mentioned before, please put them in the comments. If you're not sure of your question, we'd still love to hear from you. If you're really excited to learn more about Princess and you're happy to see John and Princess Cruises featured here on Travel Talk Live, give a like or a love with the Facebook Live buttons. We'd love to see that across the screen for John, to show support for John and Princess Cruises. And if you're watching live right now, go ahead and leave a comment, even just to say hi and where you're from. And if you've sailed on Princess, or you've sent your guests on Princess, if you're one of our travel partners, we'd love to hear from you. We love engagement. So go ahead and put that in the comments box here of this thread. We are monitoring it for John. So you talked a lot, John, about the depth and the bench strength, if you will, in terms of the number of ships you have in your fleet, and so how many destinations you can really visit. I do see the trend in the cruise industry. I mean, there's two different trends. There's like the big, amazing ships that are truly the destination, but I do see a shift back towards more of the destination being the focus of the destination. And as Princess sails to so many different destinations, I know that there's a lot of the traveling public out there is craving more of those experiences versus perhaps the onboard amenities, which I know Princess is amazing at as well. Let's talk about the destinations that you really go to. I mean, what would you say is it's probably a hard question to answer, but what would you say is the best destination that Princess really shines in?
That's like picking your favorite child. It's hard to say the best destination. I can tell you for Princess where we spend most of our time, and then maybe we can dive in a little bit on one or two of those. Okay. And so if you look at where we sail in the year, there's three areas that we kind of spend most of our time in. One is Alaska, the other is Europe, and then the other is the Caribbean. Okay. And so between those three, there's a good chunk of our ships and our sailings are devoted to those.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean we don't sail to other places, because we do then spend quite a bit of time in the Panama Canal, in Mexico, South America, Australia, Asia, Hawaii. So I mean, we do all these other destinations. But if you're looking for the core, Alaska, Europe, and the Caribbean, and I've personally traveled to all three of those with my family. And I'm having most recently done Alaska, and so I think Alaska is probably my favorite. If I had to pick one of my favorite kid, I would probably say Alaska, because it's more recent in my memory, and it's just a wonderful place to go. And it's a very it's highly recommended if you're going to go to Alaska. If you wake up tomorrow and you say, "Oh, I want to go to Alaska," cruising is probably the best way to see it, because if you didn't cruise, you would have a hard time seeing all the things we're going to deliver to you, especially the glaciers, without it. So you can certainly see Alaska, but you're going to see a different perspective from the ocean, and that's why Alaska cruising is so popular.
So you just said that you were able to travel to Alaska with your family recently. How were you? Did you travel with your children? How old were your children? I'm just curious as to that family dynamic.
Yeah. So I have twin boys, twin sons, John and Michael, and they're 10 years old.
Okay.
And so last summer we went to Alaska as a family event, because my mother had turned 70.
Okay.
And so we went with my mother, my aunt, so her sister, my sister, and her son, so my nephew, and then my wife and our two kids. So there were 8 of us.
Okay.
And spent a week on the Coral Princess, sailing up from. We flew up to Anchorage, and then we got on the ship in Whittier. And what Princess has a very unique, exclusive offering in Alaska, that you take a train to the ship, and you literally get off the train and you walk 50 paces across the street and you get on the ship. So we built this amazing connection in Whittier, and which is really the gateway to our lodges that are up in Alaska, which is something we can talk about. So that's a great way to see Alaska as well, kind of doing both cruise and a lodge tour.
Okay.
So anyway, we got on the ship in Whittier and sailed down all the way down to Vancouver, and just had an amazing trip in great weather, and it's a wonderful. Princess prides itself on allowing for multi-generational families to take a great vacation, because we appeal to a very broad segment. We're not the brand that just fits one very focused segment of the population, and by a certain age or by a certain psychographic. We have a very broad appeal, and so whether you're 18 or 80, there's something for everybody, and we saw that firsthand when we did my family trip. So we had kids that were as young as 10, or actually 9 at the time, all the way up to 70, and we all had a great time.
So what was your twin boys, takeaway from that trip?
Well, hopefully their takeaway is that they're very spoiled, because I can tell you, when I was 10 years old or 9 years old, I wasn't taking Alaska cruises. I was, in a car driving to see family in New Hampshire, and that was a 10-hour road trip with my vacation as a kid. So my kids have it pretty good. But they loved it. I mean, we did everything from taking a helicopter trip out to a glacier to go.
They did those excursions.
We had a wonderful time doing that. We drove our own Zodiac boats in Ketchikan to go see bald eagles, swooping fish out of the ocean. We went zip lining. We took a train ride. I mean, we lived it pretty good. So I think they're. But you know what? When I asked them at the end, I said, "What was your favorite part of the whole trip?" The swimming pool and the pizza. Those are the two things they love.
Well, true 10-year-olds, 9-year-olds, right, at the time. That's
about
what
pizza, cheeseburgers, and swimming pools.
Now, did they engage in the youth program activities?
Absolutely, and we have wonderful programs on board. And actually, in my old job, I used to help oversee the youth program, so I'm a little biased towards them. But I think we have great programs. We've done a partnership recently with our friends at Discovery Communications, so the people on Discovery Channel and Animal Planet. And so we're bringing a lot of their experiences on board, because for us at Princess, it's not just about dumping your kids off at the kids center and never seeing them again. It's about trusting that the kids center is going to take care of your kids and keep them entertained, somewhat educated, and very excited to go every time, because that's the test of a true kids club, is when you go to the next morning, you get up the next morning, whether the kids are asking to go back, and every day our kids were asking to go back, so that was always great. So but it's also about allowing you to spend time with your kids, so that was fun.
One of the things that didn't come out before we actually went live, when I was telling you a little bit about my background in the cruise industry, there's another thing that we have in common, is that my first job on board cruise ships was a youth counselor. So
wow. So you've done some hard work.
I have. I've paid my dues in this industry.
I mean, some of the most critical, I've always said that is one of the most critical jobs on the ship, because if you do not do your job well, those kids are not going to want to come back.
And then it's a
those
horrible
parents
vacation.
no longer have their date night, or no longer
It's
have their
true.
kids to go and do the things they want to do as adults. And so, hats off to anyone that can do that job.
I remember in being in the youth department, and the biggest issue that we would have was that the parents would start getting frustrated towards the end of the cruise because the kids didn't want to be with the parents anymore.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
just wanted to be with the youth program. So, anyways,
You did your job well. That's
yes.
great.
So for those of you joining us on Travel Talk Live, if you're just joining us now, we are talking to the Vice President of North American Sales for Princess Cruises and Cunard. This is John Chernesky, and John is just sharing all kinds of stories and information about Princess Cruises in order to really paint the picture of what it's like to go on a Princess Cruise and really inspire us to think big about our next travel experiences. And what John was just saying about multi-generational trip to Alaska, that is an absolute must. So really great information. And we really want to encourage all of you, our Travel Talk Live watchers, listeners, whatever the correct social media term is for a live, to go ahead and put your questions in the comment box. If you have any questions for John about Princess Cruises specifically, we'd love to hear from you. So go ahead, and we're checking them here. So I'm monitoring it for John. If you don't have any questions right now, please go ahead and just say hi and where you're from. We'd love to hear from you. So we talked about Alaska, we talked about a multi-generational trip. And so is there anything else that you feel you want to talk about in terms of Princess and Alaska specifically, perhaps before we highlight another destination that Princess shines at?
Yeah, I mentioned a little bit about our cruise tour program, and
Yes.
I think it's
Let's talk about that.
the beauty of Princess going to Alaska is that we carry more people to Alaska every year. We have more balcony cabins in Alaska than anybody else, which is critical. If you're going to Alaska, you want to be outside. You want to be able to see outside because
Right.
it's such a scenic.
You got to get a balcony.
You really got to soak it in. And
Yeah.
so from a positioning standpoint, we also cover ports. We sail out of San Francisco. We sail out of Seattle. We sail out of Vancouver. We actually even have one next year that's sailing round trip out of Los Angeles, which last I heard was already sold out. So people who live in the LA area didn't want to fly up there and get a 12 each to Alaska.
What is the night sailing of that? Is that must be a 10 night or a 12 night?
It's 12.
12.
It's 12.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and that sold out like that. So we'll see if we have more of those in the future. But the only way to see the cruise tour experience, where you get to go from a cruise to a lodge experience, or vice versa, you can always start with the lodges and then do on the cruise, is if you go out of Vancouver up to Whittier, and then you go and do the lodge experience, then you fly home from Anchorage. And having visited our lodges, especially near Mount McKinley or Denali, as it's now known, the highest peak in North America, they're totally different worlds. So it's one thing to be on the ship and seeing the beautiful glaciers, let's say in Glacier Bay.
Right.
But then when you get off the ship and you take the train up and you go to our lodges near Denali, we have 2 lodges up there, and then there's 3 others that are kind of spread around other parts of Alaska. You really enter a different world, and it's just absolutely amazing. The trees, the mountains, the wildlife, the fresh air, lots to do, and I highly recommend that if you've got just an extra couple days rather than just 7 days, you can do it in as few as 10 days. You don't have to spend a ton of time there. I mean, you can do a full week up in just the lodges if you want, but just to add on a couple days and really enhance your experience, highly recommend it.
And speaking of enhancing the experience, when should the traveling public be thinking about booking their Alaska cruise? What's a good time of year to be thinking about booking in the summer?
Right now, we're seeing strength for Alaska next year. And I think this is something that people should, always keep in mind. There's always promotions out in the marketplace. I would take advantage of them right now because you don't want to miss out on the kind of cabin that you want or the sailing that you want. Especially if you have a limited window of when you can take a vacation. Book it now because you don't want to miss out on that. And like I said, we're seeing great strength, so I wouldn't wait much longer for Alaska.
All right, and when you're ready to book your Princess Alaska cruise, you absolutely need to use a travel professional, preferably a Gifted Travel Network agent, as this show is being powered by a Gifted Travel Network. If you're watching Travel Talk Live right now, because your Gifted Travel Network travel professional invited you or shared this information with you, you want to contact your Gifted Travel Network agent. If you're not sure if you have one, or if you don't have an actual travel professional and you've happened upon the Travel Talk Live, you're more than welcome to email us at info@giftedtravelnetwork.com. We'll also put it in the comments of this Facebook Live, so you can let us know if you need a recommendation, because we've got a lot of amazing travel professionals within the network of Gifted Travel Network that can help you plan the most perfect Alaska experience with Princess. So let's see. So we're talking about cruise tours. We talked about cruising, multi-gen. What other opportunities in the Alaska season should we touch on before perhaps showcasing another part of the world that Princess does so well?
Well, I just want to reiterate the importance of what you just said about, if it's okay, about travel agents.
Please.
And, for any consumer that's watching that had maybe never taken a cruise before, or maybe thinks, why on earth would I use a travel agent? I book my travel directly.
Yes. Thank you for answering
or I go
this.
online and
yes.
I make it happen. I think it's important to remember that a cruise can be a complicated experience, because there's a lot of moving parts. You've got flights, you've got transfers, you've got the cruise itself, you've got what to do on board, you've got shore excursions, you've got, do I take insurance out? So there's all these things that you need to consider. And a travel agent costs you $0 as a consumer. You will not get charged a penny for using a travel agent. And in fact, the chances are you're going to get a better deal using a travel agent because of the relationships that travel agents have with suppliers like Princess Cruises. And so I can't stress strongly enough the value of using a travel agent to really enhance your vacation. Because at the end of the day, you don't want to spend your time managing all of those details, especially if you have more than a couple of people that are going. If you have a small group of you that are going, maybe 2 or 3 cabins, things get complicated. How, who's doing what? Who's coming in at this point? Where are we staying before we get on the ship? And, in today's day and age, time is money, and time is so valuable. We only have so much of it. So free up your time, trust a professional to get everything done and everything taken care of. And, that's my appeal, that you should use a travel agent, because we do see the value in our partnership, and honestly, we couldn't do it without our travel agent partners.
Well, we appreciate that, and we appreciate the commitment that Princess Cruises shows to travel partners. And I know that you also offer extra opportunities, if you will, to guests that book with travel professionals. I know that many of our members within Gifted Travel Network, as you know, our travel consortia is with Travel Savers and the Affluent Traveler Collection, and simply and that's not a sort of a consumer facing brand, but because our members are affiliated with that partner, you give an extra layer of support. And so what this means for the traveling public booking with a Gifted Travel Network agent is there's extra opportunities to enhance that experience. Could you tell the traveling public a little bit more about what extras they might receive on certain sailings as a result of booking specifically with a member of GTN?
Yeah, it depends on the sailing and the time of year, but I mean, it could be anything from, an onboard credit that you get free on board. It could be gratuities, which, it also depends which promotions in the marketplace. And this is another testament to why you should use a travel agent, is because it's the complication of, what is the best offer out there? And that's what everybody wants to know. What is the best price that I can pay you for this experience? And that's where the travel professional is going to tell you. So, you know what? In 1 week, we know that they're launching this big promotional offer that's going to get you something else. And so, let's wait a week. Or, right now in market is a great limited time offer that's going to expire tomorrow. So let's take advantage of it. And if you don't have that travel partner, that travel professional helping you, you're going to miss out on that. And so, it's something that you just don't want to be taking for granted, that you think you know the best, when in fact the travel professional is going to be able to help you.
Thank you for overemphasizing that. It was perfectly stated. I actually just want to go to some of these, the comments here and the questions. We've got a lot of people saying hello to you. We've got one of our members.
Hello.
And I'll let you, take a sip there. One of our members, Claire Duckett, she did an Alaska cruise this year. She did it this year, and it was awesome with Princess. So she's reinforcing that. I want to ask from Iris Miller-Smith. She's hi Iris, thanks for being on the live. Iris is an advocate for accessibility, and so she works with a lot of the traveling public that have accessibility requirements when they're cruising, and I know Princess is a big advocate for this, and you do a lot of work with this with your staterooms. Talk to us a little bit about that, specifically for Iris and her clients that might be watching. Talk to us a little bit about the availability of accessible staterooms. She's asking specifically with roll-in showers. I know that's a very specific question, so if you can't answer that and you want to take that offline for Iris, I totally understand. But maybe a broader answer of what opportunities there are for travelers that have these requirements.
Yeah, so it's a great question, and happy to help Iris, after this call if she has any specific questions. But, we certainly do support providing a range of stateroom accessibility to those that, whether it's the full roll-in or whether it's limited requirements for support in the cabin. So we have the whole range of it to help support them on board. And so, as you said, we're for years and years and years we've been certainly championing this, and the team that we have that focuses on here is dedicated to it. And so it's everything from not only the staterooms, but for those that have hearing issues with the support that we have for our movies or our shows on board, for braille menus. We run the gamut. From an accessibility and people that have special needs that we are there to help support.
And so, Iris, one of the things I want to recommend in terms of accessibility and cruising, and I actually having worked with special needs group and knowing this segment a little bit better, a little bit more, I think, than the average person because of my knowledge of that. My biggest recommendation for your clients and anybody listening is the most important thing here is to have as much notice as possible with the sailing. You want to be looking at sailings that are as far out as possible, and to be as communicative as possible with the access department with the needs of your clients, because they can't know what you need, and it's very difficult to source, roll-in showers or a braille menu or hearing or any of those things, a week out. So you really, and Princess works with a lot of great subsidiary companies that can even bring on extra equipment. Whatever you need, Princess will be able to source, but you got to give them time. So just keep that in mind.
Absolutely.
Great question. All right, so anybody else has a question for John on Princess Cruises? We want to hear from you. Let's make the Facebook Live as fun and engaging as possible. So go ahead and type your question in the question box so we can hear directly from John to get your question answered. We were talking about multi-gen cruising in Alaska, and John, you really painted a great picture of why travel to Alaska with Princess and why that's just so important to put on your bucket list, which I definitely want to do with my family for sure. I've done it on my own, but a multi-gen trip to Alaska is an absolute must. So let's focus in on another destination here as well before we get some additional questions. What else? I know you said it's difficult to pick, Caribbean or Europe. I personally would love to hear your thoughts on Europe and Princess in Europe, maybe even the Med versus the Baltic, or just highlighting Mediterranean cruises. Who should be considering a Mediterranean cruise, especially with current geopolitical, things that have come up in the last year? Like, what are your thoughts on cruising to Europe right now, and who should be considering it?
Well, I think everybody should be considering it because Europe is a wonderful place to visit. And having taken a Mediterranean cruise, several years ago with my wife at the time, it's a wonderful way to sample multiple countries and multiple destinations within the Mediterranean. Because when we say the Mediterranean, it's obviously a very big area, which covers, Greece, Northern Africa, Italy, south of France, Spain. And so if you were just to go and experience those outside of a cruise, you would be either spending a lot of time on a plane or a lot of time on a bus or a train, packing and unpacking multiple times, and you would have a very hard time in, let's say, a 12 or 14-day window experiencing the things that we can deliver as a cruise line to you or to your guests, to your clients. And so the beauty of how we set up our Mediterranean cruising is that we run them in basically 7-day increments for the most part. We have 2 ships that are there, actually 3 for one of our smaller ships, which is only about 600-700 people for very exclusive itineraries, which is a wonderful way to see some of the smaller ports. And so depending on how much time you have, we start them in 7-day increments, so you can combine from a 17 to a 14 all the way up to a 21.
Wow.
Or if you only have the 7 days, you could just do the 7 days and then go home. So it really is up to you and your schedule. But I think with the geopolitical issues, listen, we live in a world where there's always something, and there's always going to be something going on. And we have to make a decision whether we're going to kind of lock ourselves in our closet and never come out, or we're going to get out there and see the world. And we've seen resiliency in Europe and the interest of people going because they realize the value that a Princess Cruise to Europe offers, and the experience that you get. And listen, it's you only live once, and you better get out there and see it because there's just some amazing places to see. And whether you've never been to Europe or you've been I've been to England or I've been to Italy, we have a variety of itineraries that you can choose from to help you really create that wonderful experience that you've always dreamed of.
I've personally done the Mediterranean cruise, and it's something to behold. It's an amazing way to see Europe. So I highly, highly, highly recommend it. Let's go to a question actually here from Wendy Livingston. Hi, Wendy. Thanks for being on Travel Talk Live. We appreciate it. Wendy is asking, I primarily sell adventure travel. How can I present a princess cruise as soft adventure travel?
Soft adventure travel. Well, I think, depending on where your clients want to go. And so whether they want to do Europe or Panama Canal or South America or Australia, there's always something adventurous to do. And it depends on the definition of adventure. So if a zip line qualifies as adventurous, then we've got something for you. If you want to take people to Hawaii and do some shark diving in a cage off Oahu, we actually offer an exclusive tour.
Wow.
Thanks to our partnership with Discovery Channel. You can do that.
Wow.
We offer what I would consider adventurous, even though it's perhaps a little slow moving, because we take people who go on a Panama Canal cruise. We have an exclusive ability when you're in Costa Rica to visit a sloth sanctuary. We're the only cruise line that can take people there because of our partnership with Animal Planet. It's a small tour. It's only, I think, 2 dozen or 3 dozen people that get to go, and you get to visit these sloths who are being rescued. So
wow.
To some people, that's very adventurous because you get to see this amazing animal up close and really get to see how they're recovering. So we offer a number of what I would consider adventurous tours. If you're looking to parachute into an active volcano, probably not something we could offer you. But if the things I just mentioned earlier are adventurous, and like I said before, the trip to Alaska, it was the definition of adventure. We were doing driving our own Zodiac boats, taking a helicopter trip, doing a zip line. I mean, it was pretty adventurous. And so, but the beauty of that is that you don't have to be just some 20-year-old who's in great shape to do it, that we offer these tours so that a mass market of people from all ages can appreciate and enjoy.
There's definitely no shortage of adventure on a princess cruise, that's for sure. Just checking to see here. And hi, Lynn. Lynn Hare, our BDM for Gifted Travel Network is on, so thanks for being on, Lynn. Hello. Any other questions for John from Princess? And feel free to put it in here in the comment box. Let's talk so that we can address it to John specifically. So don't be shy and put your questions in. We love your questions. And Wendy, thank you for yours, and thank you for the thank you. So John, let's talk a little bit about, you keep mentioning about these great partnerships. I keep hearing about partnerships with the youth program and partnerships now with Shore Excursions and Discovery Channel. Talk to me a little bit more about what are the partnerships that Princess has, because I think that you've just kind of thrown out a few things there over the last however long we've been talking now that I've been like, oh, that's kind of impressive.
Yeah. So we've done a number of partnerships recently over the last couple of years to really help raise our product level, our experience, our value offer to our guests. And we know it's a competitive marketplace out there, and so we've really focused on not just one area, but really the entire experience. So I've mentioned Discovery and the things we do off the ship. They also help us do things on board the ship. We actually offer a stargazing experience. So when you're on the ship, you're at sea. We have trained our crew staff on board to help give you a guided tour of the nighttime sky.
Wow.
So if you're
that's
if
amazing.
you're curious in the stars and how things are aligned, I've taken it. It's a wonderful opportunity because there's nothing quite like being on a ship at sea at night. You look up. We've structured it so we dim the lights in this one area, and you can look up and we can show you where the planets are and where the constellations are. So that's kind of a neat onboard experience. We've done partnerships in our entertainment venues. So we've actually done a partnership with a gentleman named Stephen Schwartz. So Mr. Schwartz is a gentleman who's been in Broadway for years and years. He did Godspell and Picken and Wicked, so he created those shows.
Okay.
And so he's done his next 4 shows are with Princess. So he's just introduced his second show with us called Born to Dance. And then the first show before that was called Magic to Do, and he's got 2 more shows. So we're really ramping up our entertainment on board. Those shows, which unlike if you go to Vegas where you spend a lot of money to go see shows from talented people, at Princess we have as talented, if not more talented, and they're free. So you get to go in and see the show after dinner. It's a really neat way to relax and entertain yourself. And so with partnering with Steven has been a neat experience for us, to say the least. It's really helped us raise our entertainment game. We've also done a partnership with The Voice. So for those of you familiar with the #1 TV show.
I love that show. Is Adam Levine going to be on board?
No.
Because I will so be on board. Take my credit card right now.
You might see him one day. But what we've done is isn't it always amazing for you, having worked on the ships,
yes.
There's always
That's
somebody
so
out there
cool.
who is an accountant or a sales rep or a dentist, and they have this beautiful voice.
Yes.
And so
well, do a shameless plug for crew members having worked on board. There's some crew members that are in the most unusual jobs on board that when we would do crew karaoke and they would sing like Andre Botticelli. You're just like, oh my gosh, it's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we've created this program in partnership with The Voice, called Voice
so
of the
cool.
Ocean. And we have the chairs, the button, the spinning chairs,
Oh,
the
that's
mentors
so
that take people
cool.
through. There's a big competition at the end. It just won a Magellan Award for the best enrichment experience on board
Very
because
cool.
people just love it. And as you said, and if a crew member gets to participate, it could be a dishwasher who sings like Pavarotti. It's just amazing.
I
It
know.
just blows you away.
So does the
Be proud of
person
that.
who wins The Voice on a Princess Cruise, do they get free cruises for life? No.
No.
They get some serious bragging rights, though. That's for sure.
They get bragging rights. They
Yeah.
get some prizes on board as well. But
Very
it's really
cool.
about the bragging rights. That experience to sing on stage in front of 900 people is pretty cool.
That's amazing.
So we're really proud of it.
How many ships is this experience on?
Right now, I think it's on 12 of our ships, but we're rolling it out, so it'll be on, I think, in the end, it'll be on about 15 or 16 of our ships. So basically, it's a whole fleet that we're launching it on, and it's just been a wonderful experience.
Yeah, that's awesome. Actually, for Gifted Travel Network agents, remind me, I just had an idea what John just said about The Voice and a great opportunity to sell group cruises for that particular experience. I think that would be really fun to bring on old contestants
That's a great idea.
and their fans
That's a great
to
idea.
do that experience. Any other partnerships or experiences that that you want to showcase and show off? Because I mean, so far, amazing. Everything's amazing.
Yeah, so the other partnership we've done is in relation to our food. So we've done two very unique partnerships there. One is with a celebrity chef named Curtis Stone, who's based from Australia. He runs a couple restaurants in Los Angeles, and he's been on several TV shows. Great looking guy to begin with, but also more importantly a wonderful chef. And so we partnered with Curtis, and he's done a couple things for us. One is we've built a designated restaurant, his restaurant on 3 of our ships called Share.
Okay.
And then on the rest of our fleet, which is all his menu, and it's phenomenal. I've eaten in there a few times. It's phenomenal. And on the rest of our ships, we have his dishes are featured in the main dining room every night. So there might be 1 or 2 dishes available. And if you're, no matter where you are, you can experience his dishes. And he's revamping our chef's table right now. So hopefully in early 2017, we'll be introducing that. So that's been an amazing partnership to really elevate our food experience. The other thing we've done is we've partnered with a world-renowned chocolatier. So this is a chef who does nothing but make chocolate.
Wow.
And his name is Norman Love, and he's won awards. He's just really highly regarded throughout the world. And so we created a chocolate journeys program. So there's
chocolate
his dishes
journeys.
are in the main dining room for dessert.
Wow.
In the International Cafe. The chocolate's all over the ship. And so a little funny aside that I'd like to give about this is that there was a national survey done. I'm not making this up, where it said 60% of women would rather eat chocolate than have sex. So
yes,
you might agree with that. My comment is that if I was president of the company, I would get rid of chocolate altogether on the ships because otherwise we got no chance. So our president is a woman. Her name is Jan Schwartz, and so Jan decided let's partner with this chocolatier. We'll have chocolate all over the place. So unfortunately, guys got no chance, but it's great chocolate, so you might as well enjoy it.
That's amazing. I love what you said about chocolate journey. I'm like, oh my god, I remember when I used to work on cruise ships, the big thing was like the midnight buffet and like the chocolate and all the desserts or whatever. This seems like almost like a modern twist to that and having chocolate all over the ship. So that's really cool.
Yeah, and there's an art behind what he does, and some of his dishes, it's beautiful to look at. It's amazing artwork that he creates, but it's also wonderful tasting. And there's no preservatives in it, and it's single source cocoa. You cannot just keep it forever. It won't last forever. So there's actually an expiration date on it because if you don't eat it in that time, it will spoil because it's so fresh. And so that's, I think, one of the really neat parts about it is that as pretty as it is, you want to look at it and save it. You just got to eat it. So that's your excuse to eat away.
Wow. And as food should be, right? There should really be an expiration on it. You should really eat food fresh. So
especially chocolate. Yeah.
Yes. Well, some really great information here, John, and we've got lots of great comments on the thread, and I welcome you to go to the Facebook fan page after this is over to go and look at it. You've got 2 of your team members also on board answering some questions too. two of your team members here, Anthony and Lynn, giving great value and asking and helping the agents that are asking questions. So that's fantastic. How are we doing on time? Actually, time flies when we're having a great conversation. How are what? Okay. What else should I be asking you? I think is really what my next question should be, to really showcase the depth and the experiences of a Princess cruise. There's a lot. I remember there's a statistic, you probably know it. I don't know what the exact statistic is, but I know there is a statistic about the percentage of people that have, in the U.S. specifically, that have actually taken a cruise, and it's actually pretty low. There's a lot of people out there that still haven't taken a cruise, and they may have heard of Princess, and the story, the Love Boat connection, and are watching now, and just you're painting such an amazing picture and thinking, you know what, I think I will take a cruise. But I know for those first-time cruisers, sometimes it's hard to pull that trigger and make that decision. What factors should they be considering? What's a good first-time cruise experience on Princess? Let's paint that picture for our viewers.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think, as competitive as the cruise industry is, between Princess and all the other cruise lines that are out there, we're actually not in competition with each other. We're in competition with, the people that have never taken a cruise before because they like to go on a land resort trip, or they're tentative of going on a cruise because they've never done it before. But I can tell you that it's something that appeals to all ages, all lifestyles. There's always an opportunity to sample a shorter cruise, which is a great way to try a cruise. Just do a 3 or 4 or a 5-day trip. Maybe you just want to give it a test and understand. Maybe, am I going to get seasick? These ships today are so stable and so steady, especially compared to how they used to be. Probably when you were working on board, a lot of ships were a little more rough and not as stable. And today, it's pretty good. Listen, at the end of the day, though, you're out on the ocean, so you're going to feel some movement, but there's all sorts of tricks around that and bands you can wear that'll really help solve it. One of our top first-time cruise destinations is actually Alaska. We see a lot of interest in Alaska.
I would have thought Caribbean.
And the Caribbean.
Yeah, the Caribbean.
And the Caribbean. So those two pretty much dominate, but because they're relatively easy to get to rather than having to fly to Europe or over to Japan, which is a pretty exotic destination to focus on. So I would just, one of the things when we look at the satisfaction ratings that people give our cruises versus, say, a land resort, is that we compete very well with them, and if not, when we look at hotel chains, we exceed the Net Promoter Score from most major hotel chains compared to a Princess cruise. So if you think of time is important. You only have so many vacation days, and so many people, sadly enough, don't even take vacation.
I know, it makes us crazy.
Really sad.
I know.
I saw a statistic that said 42% of Americans didn't take a single vacation day last year, and that is really sad.
It's so
as a travel agent, your job is to help inspire those people to cruise. We're doing the best we can to advertise and really make it appealing to people. And as I mentioned, with all the things we're offering on board, the chocolate and the food from Curtis Stone and the shows and the voice. And if you went to Vegas or you went to some resort and tried to do all that, it would cost you a fortune because it's all extra. But that's all part of
the
our
onboard programming.
On board.
Right. What are some of the shorter cruises for as you said, for first-time cruisers that want to stick their toe in and see if it's right for them? Where are the 3 and 4 or 5 night sailings going out of for Princess?
Typically out of Fort Lauderdale to a sample trip to the Caribbean. And then we've also done some short trips out of Los Angeles, but those are fewer than they used to be. And so you could do a coastal trip, but for the most part, it's going to be out of Fort Lauderdale to the Caribbean. It's a great way to experience it.
All right. Thank you. Now we are kind of getting to the end here with John. So if you have any questions for John in regards to cruising with Princess, please feel free to post them in the thread here for Facebook Live comment box. So go ahead and post them there. I'd be happy to ask John on your behalf so that we can get your questions answered. One of my questions I have for you is what sort of, the cruise industry in general just keeps topping itself. It's just where's the bar? With the innovations and the entertainment and the culinary experiences and the destinations, what do you believe, as somebody that has, 20 plus years of experience in this industry, for Princess specifically, what's next? I can't even imagine. It's amazing what Princess has accomplished already in its 50 plus years. What do you think is next for Princess?
Well, I think you're always going to see within the industry and as Princess as a whole, we will continue to innovate on board our ships. We will continue to deliver some wow experiences. So I was just on a sister brand of ours, so Carnival Cruises. I was on their new ship, the Vista, last week in New York for their inaugural, and they have an IMAX theater on board.
Wow.
And I remember being part of our new build team 20 years ago, and we were trying to figure out how to put an IMAX theater on the ship, and we couldn't do it. It just wasn't possible. Now it's possible. So the engineering and the architecture catches up and enables the delivery of these things that before you would never consider. And so I think you'll constantly see that evolve, and whether it's new food or new entertainment, new experiences on board. But the most important thing to never lose sight of is the service that you experience on a ship.
Right.
And you worked on board a ship, you know how important it is. To us, there's priorities of our brand and the things that we're trying to deliver on. Safety is always going to be number one. Number two is the service that our guests experience, because our job is to help our guests relax and rejuvenate and explore the world. That's our goal, right? We want people to relax and explore at the same time. And if you don't relax on that vacation, then you're probably not going to come back. And so, hats off to we have 28,000 crew members and employees throughout the world.
Wow.
And so the people that do the real work are the people on our ships, and so their job, and they do an amazing job of really welcoming people into their home, which is the ship, and giving them an amazing escape from their routine. And our tagline is "Come back new." We want people to be refreshed and come back new when they finish that vacation. And so service will always be important, and I think that is what we will continue to focus on.
And I just want to say, as you mentioned, having worked on board, I think the fact that Princess does consistently rate highest of the high in terms of customer service levels is a real testament to you as a company in terms of how you treat your crew members. And as I know that's really, I don't want to put myself in a specific category, but I am often categorized as a millennial mom. And as a millennial, that's really important to me as a traveler. I want to make sure that I'm traveling with companies and brands that really take care of their people. And I know that Princess does that, because you wouldn't have such consistently high customer service ratings if your crew weren't happy. And you just said it's their home. And a lot of times guests, you don't realize, I've actually had guests that would ask me if they fly crew members in and out every day. Not realizing that no, we live on board, and that's our home. And Princess does an amazing job of making crew members feel comfortable and at home while they're there for 6-8 month contracts at a time. And that's why you have such high scores with your service, because you know how to treat your crew, and I think that's really important.
Yeah, well said. It's if the crew aren't happy, believe me, the guests aren't going to be happy, and so it's very important for us. And it's amazing for me, having worked here for so long, I still know people who work on board the ships that I met in my first year on the job. Yeah. And so we're good friends, and for me to see them every time I can visit one of their ships, and that's a testament to how long people do stay with our brand, because they may have tried another brand, but they come back because they just like being at Princess. We treat them pretty well. Right.
So you have shared just so much information, John. I really want to thank you so much for your time. Is there anything that I should have asked that you really want to highlight about Princess, or anything about working with travel partners to our traveling public that are listening? What's one last tidbit of information or maybe segment of information that I should have asked you that you really want to express?
Well, I think I just want to thank all the people out there that work as travel professionals that help, bring great experiences to their guests every day. And, I like to say that Princess is a brand that appeals to a very wide segment of the marketplace, but we may not be the best brand for every individual. We get that, right? The hardest job of a travel agent is qualifying their client and putting them on the right brand. True. So if they spend enough time getting to know that customer, especially somebody who's never cruised before, I would rather them put them on a competitor within the cruise space than put them on us and then they don't have a great experience. Because if they put them on the wrong brand, we lose them forever, because they're probably not going to try cruising again. So that time that you spend getting to know your clients, understanding their wants and their needs, is so critical. But I feel comfortable recommending Princess because, like I said before, we don't just appeal to a very narrow segment of the market. We appeal to a very wide segment of all ages, all interests, all psychographic profiles. And so you can feel comfortable putting them on Princess, and just want to thank you for your hard work and recommending our brand to your clients. And, we're here to help. And please contact your local BDM So for Lynn, who's listening, she's a great advocate, obviously, for our brand, but a great support for anything that you need. Don't hesitate to reach out.
Awesome. John, thank you so much for sharing all of your information. And I'm sure it was just the tip of the iceberg with what you can talk about with Princess. We're very grateful for your time. And I actually didn't even ask you at the very, very beginning of Travel Talk Live, where are you actually talking to us from? Is that your office in Seattle that you're talking to us from?
I'm actually in Los Angeles.
Oh, you're in Los Angeles.
In my office in Los Angeles.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought.
Northern LA County.
Gotcha. Okay, so you're in LA. Got it. So, and I see the nice, big, beautiful Princess banner behind you as well. So we appreciate you letting us into your office today so that we can hear from you directly. We know your time is valuable, so we thank you very much, and we honor the time that you gave us. And we thank our viewers of Travel Talk Live for supporting another episode of our live show and learning all about Princess. If you joined us halfway through or just joining us now towards the end, don't worry. This is automatically recorded and lives on the GTN fan page in the video section. So if you want to go back to the beginning of it and watch everything that John had to say about the Princess Cruise experience, you're absolutely welcome to do so at any time. And we welcome your feedback and place your comments in there. We'd love to hear from you. And if you are super charged up and excited and totally inspired to take a Princess Cruise, you want to get out there, especially if you're thinking about Alaska, because you got to book right now, just like John said. You absolutely want to be using a member of the Gifted Travel Network. If you do not have a travel professional in Gifted Travel Network, go ahead and email us at info@giftedtravelnetwork.com, where we will match you with the best travel professional to meet your travel needs. And we're really looking forward to hearing you, and we're looking forward to continuing the partnership with Princess Cruises. John, it's been an amazing partnership with Lynn and Anthony, and your entire team has been over the top supportive, and we look forward to 2017 and seeing where the partnership takes us. So thank you.
Thank you very much. It's been a great pleasure to be here, and hope it was helpful for everybody out there. But thank you so much for including me.
Absolutely. Thank you. All right, everyone. Thanks for watching Travel Talk Live, and we'll see you next Tuesday.
Bye-bye.
Make it a great Tuesday. Bye-bye.